Hi. Hi, it really is me. It's not Batman. Hello. Today we have the story from the Bible of an amazing day. An amazing day. Elijah and the chariot. Look for 2 Kings 2, 1 through 17. Hey! Yippee! We're not in 1 Kings anymore. We've turned the page and we've gone to 2 Kings. And you're going to hear about an amazing day in the life of Elijah. Now, before you hear about an amazing day in the life of Elijah, let's talk about a special word. Because we're almost done studying Elijah. So let's talk about this word, faith. Faith. You've heard that word. We talk about it in church a lot. Faith is being sure of the things that you hope for, says the Bible. It's knowing that God really, really is. You know that you know that you know that you know. When you die, you will go to heaven because you are saved. You know that Jesus is real. You don't doubt it. You work hard on your faith, and sometimes your faith gets weak. So then you have to say, God, give me more faith. Pray that prayer. God, give me more faith. And He will say yes. What is faith? Faith is the story of an umbrella. Once upon a time, there was a whole village that was having a drought, no rain. Now, because this village relied on their crops to eat, the rain wasn't coming, so their crops weren't growing. Their tomato plants died and withered, their corn died and withered, and they were hungry. Their animals had nothing to eat. Their sheep and their cows that ate grass, the grass died and withered, and then the sheep and cows began to die and wither. What a horrible situation. It's probably like us being in a pandemic. Only they didn't have any stores to go to. So they were truly, truly starving, not just isolated. So the head of the village said, let's have a prayer meeting. Everybody, bring whatever gifts you have for whatever gods you can think of, and come to the center of the village. And we'll all chant and we'll sing and we'll pray and we'll ask for rain. So all the people brought all the gifts they had for all the gods they could think of. And they came to the center of the village. And they danced and they prayed to different gods. Yeah, that's a sin. They prayed to all kinds of different gods. And they said, please send us rain, send us rain, send us rain. We're starving. Have mercy on us. And then each person in the village went around the circle and laid down his gifts for his God. Some of the people had brought lots of gold. Some of the people had brought their very best china. Some of the people had brought the last little bit of food that they had. And then when they came to the last person picked up and laid down an umbrella. An umbrella, said everybody else, forgetting to pray and cry and sing. An umbrella with all the gold and all the jewels and all the fine things we brought. All you brought was an umbrella? Yeah, said this last person, because God is going to send rain, and I need an umbrella. Just then, it started to rain. Now that's faith. This person brought an umbrella because they believed that God was going to send rain. Faith is believing. Faith is knowing and believing. So what about Elijah? And what about Elisha? Two people with names that sound the same. Elijah with his cloak, and Elisha, the younger man. Did they have faith? Well, this story tells us some of it. I know Braden already read the story. So start with chapter 2, Elijah taken up to heaven. Verse 1. At the time the Lord was about to take Elijah right to heaven in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were taking a walk from Gilgal. And Elijah said to Elisha, "Stay here, the Lord has sent me to Bethel." But Elisha said, "As surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I'm not going to leave you." Elisha knew. He knew that Elijah was leaving, that the Lord was going to take him. And he said, "I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to stick with you." Obviously, both men had faith that God was going to take Elijah to heaven. Good for them. This happened 3 different times, as you probably heard when Braden read it. In verse 3, the company came out to the people and came out to Elisha and Elijah and said, "You know, the Lord is going to take away your master today." "Yes, I know," Elisha replied, "but let's not talk about it." And for the second time, Elijah said, "Stay here, I'm going somewhere else." And Elisha said, "As surely as the Lord lives, I'm not staying here. I'm going with you." And as you read before in all the verses, this happened a third time. Elijah said, "Stay here, I'm going to a third place." And Elisha said, "I will not leave you." Finally, Elijah and Elisha together came to a river, the River Jordan. And Elijah took that cloak he has off his head, and he took the cloak and he smacked the water twice with the cloak. Smack, smack. And at that time the water dried up, and Elisha and Elijah walked across on dry ground. Go to verse 9. And when they had crossed over, Elijah said to Elisha, "Tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken away from you?" Elisha said, "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit." And Elijah said, "If you see me when I am taken away from you, God will grant this to you." As they were walking along, the two of them, I don't know myself, is this a happy moment or a sad moment? You heard Braden read it. As the two of them were walking along, a chariot of fire came and took Elijah away, took Elijah to heaven. So it was kind of like Elijah died. He didn't really die. But Elisha must have been sad that he was leaving, and Elisha must have been happy that he was going to heaven. I think I feel that way when anyone dies. Elisha saw it and cried out in verse 12, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel." And Elisha saw him no more. Then Elisha picked up that cloak that Elijah had dropped, went back to the river, and said, "Where is the God of Elijah?" as he smacked the river. And sure enough, the river dried up. And Elisha walked back on dry ground. Wow. Cool. What a story. And if you read all the way to verse 17, you know that the prophets who were there didn't believe Elisha. And they went to search for Elijah, but they didn't find him because he was in heaven. and Elisha became the new prophet, the one who sent the messages of the Lord. Elisha received the messages from God and sent them on to the people. Wait till you hear more of his stories. His stories are way better than Batman's stories. You hear more and more about the faith of Elisha. See you next time.